Welcome to the show, Historizing the MC Culture. I'm your host, Prophet, member of Outcast Motorcycle Club, eminent scholar, professor emeritus, all things MC culture. And what I attempt to do here is to answer some questions that I get from the inbox regarding various subjects. And so right now I had a question that was in regards to the history of the highway system and how that ties into the MC culture. And so I just want to answer that and get the show started. So it really goes back to this: is that the idea and strategic planning for the highway system really has its genesis in 1916. Yet the project is named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower. And Eisenhower championed the Federal Aid Highway Act in 1956, and this granted funding for the highway system project. But he was not the president in 1916 when the idea first came about. So Eisenhower was an officer who was stationed in Germany, and he had seen the effectiveness of a highway system, but he didn't come up with the idea. The idea was born in 1916 after a series of events that showed the United States government that it needed an effective way to move troops and supplies in the event of. And so the question is, what were those events? So World War I started in 1914, and Congress sold the idea of the highway system to the people using a fear tactic. They told the people that America needed a highway system to quickly move troops and supplies in the event of an invasion. The only problem was the fact that there was no threat of invasion from a foreign government. The enemy was the Germans, the Austrians, the Ottomans, Bulgaria, none of which were in a position to invade the United States. So the idea of the highway system was sold to the public out of fear. The true reason the government decided they needed a highway system was because of a series of events that happened prior to that, which compelled the government to make provisions for what could happen next. So if we jump back in history, we can see that America had a serious problem with race riots. From the riots in Atlanta in 1906 to Illinois to Texas and beyond, riots were an explosive part of American culture. And due to the extremely high tensions in race, because slavery ended less than 50 years prior, rebellions often flared at a moment's notice, often from police brutality, inequality, injustice, ironically, the same issues we are rebelling against today. And so each one of these riots showed the United States government that it was not prepared logistically to move in federal troops if they needed to, due to a lack of a highway system. After the government studied this observation, they drew the conclusion that a highway system was the best practice in order to open the logistical lines to move troops and supplies across the United States. The government called on General Blackjack Pershing to draw a map that he deemed, from the U.S. Army's perspective, the best routes connecting urban developments, military facilities, and any other cogs, which you call center of gravities. This map covered 20,000 square miles and is known as Pershing's map. The government took Pershing's map, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower championed the construction of the highway system, and that is the genesis of what we now know as the Dwight D. Eisenhower transportation system. As bikers who ride these highways and byways every day, it's important that we know the genesis of these highways. These highways that we know and love so intimately were born out of fear. Fear of race riots and the inability to move troops in between those urban developments. This has been Historizing the MC Culture.